Okay, let's unpack this. Think about your daily routine for a second. Scheduling. It's just this constant background task, right? And we rely completely on our calendar clients, Google, Microsoft, Apple, you name it. The scale is pretty staggering. Sources say we're talking about roughly 1 billion daily users, just depending on these platforms to manage their day. But then think about being a business, or maybe a university, a big marketing team. You're trying to get a product launch or, say, a quarterly stockholder meeting onto your customer's actual calendar. Suddenly, all that efficiency just vanishes. The workflow becomes this mess of endless email reminders. And this reliance on the email inbox is exactly what our sources call extremely inefficient and costly.
Mhm.
So our mission today is to really deep dive into a new piece of tech from 31events.com. It's called the Calendar Invite Server, or CIS for short. And the claim is big. It solves this massive inefficient gap in how we communicate events externally, specifically offering a true embeddable solution for email, web, and apps.
Right. And the first question has to be why? Why this heavy reliance on email, which everyone knows can be costly and, frankly, annoying? Why not just send a simple calendar invite? Well, the barrier, as the sources detail it, was purely technical. It sounds simple, but it wasn't. Until now, there really wasn't a commercially available REST API out there, a programmable pipeline that could reliably handle everything, creating, sending, tracking, updating, canceling invites, especially at scale for potentially millions of people.
Okay, so it's not just about sending an invite, it's the whole life cycle.
Exactly. And crucially, doing it all while strictly following the underlying IETF guidelines. Now, for anyone listening who isn't a developer, the IETF guidelines, they're basically the internet's rulebook. They dictate how all these different calendar platforms, Google, Microsoft, Apple, actually talk to each other. If you don't follow those rules precisely, your invite might look weird, it could land straight in spam, or worst case, it just doesn't collect the critical data you actually need back from the user's calendar. Like, did they say yes or no?
Right, okay. And we should definitely acknowledge the pioneers here. Companies like Calendly, they absolutely prove the market for appointment self-scheduling. You send a link, someone books, they get an invite. It works. But that's mostly one-to-one or small groups. If you're doing a massive webinar or maybe announcing something huge like an entire NFL season schedule, the traditional marketing approach still feels, well, broken.
It really does.
And the current standard, that's the add to calendar button, right? We've all seen it. You click it, you get those 4 little icons, Google, Outlook, Apple, Yahoo. What actually happens then?
Well, that's where the friction comes in.
You download a static file, an iCal file. I think everyone listening has done this.
Mm-hmm.
The file drops into your downloads folder, and maybe a week later you find it again and realize, oh, I never actually imported that. Or maybe you just forget completely.
Exactly. That's the high-friction flaw. It's clunky, it requires extra steps from the user, and it forces the organizer, the person sending the event, to run a totally separate RSVP form anyway, because the button itself tells them nothing.
So downloading the file is one problem. But what about the data?
Ah, yes. The invisible data gap, as the sources call it. This is the real killer. Let's say the customer does manage to download and import the ICL file. They see the invite, it looks fine, and they see the yes, no, maybe buttons right there in their own calendar client. They click yes, great.
Yeah.
Except that response data, it goes absolutely nowhere.
We're nowhere.
Vanishes. Poof. The old solutions, the add to calendar buttons, they were essentially just tricking the calendar client. They made the buttons appear, but they hadn't actually engineered the back-end plumbing to capture that response, that receipt back from the client. It's like sending a registered letter but forgetting to ask for the signature confirmation.
So the organizer gets zero real data on who intends to show up directly from the calendar system itself.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which forces them right back to those costly email reminders and separate survey forms just to figure out basic attendance numbers. It completely defeats the purpose of the calendar invite.
Okay, that's a huge gap. So if the core issue is just following IETF rules to get those calendar receipts back, why haven't the big players like Google or Microsoft just built this capability directly into their business tools already? What's the obstacle that this CIS technology apparently overcame?
That's a great question. And the sources suggest the key insight was independence. The CIS is positioned as a serverless technology stack, built entirely on AWS, Amazon Web Services. And it's designed specifically for OEMs, large enterprises, people who need to embed this capability.
Yeah.
Crucially, it operates outside the native calendar platform's own servers and licensing agreements.
Independent. Why is that so important?
Control and scale. It means the domain owner, you, the enterprise, maintains full control over the messaging pipeline, the security, the data flow. It's in your AWS account. It leverages AWS Simple Email Service, SES, specifically the raw API, to handle the actual sending and, importantly, internationalizing the content. So the CIS acts purely as an embeddable calendar messaging service. It doesn't need to manage the calendar data itself, just the invites about the events. This allows for massive scale, tight security, and it completely sidesteps the licensing constraints and potential walled gardens of the big calendar platforms.
Okay, interesting. So it's a dedicated pipe for the invites themselves. Let's talk about the organizer then. The person actually trying to get events out there, they need efficiency. Usually a new comms channel means learning a whole new dashboard, a new system. Does CIS force organizers into some new platform to manage all this? Because that sounds like it could kill the efficiency gain.
No, and this is actually a pretty clever part of the design. The CIS uses the organizer's existing calendar client, their Google Calendar, their Outlook, as the primary way to manage the event.
The calendar itself is the interface.
Exactly. It becomes the CRUD interface. Create, read, update, delete. You don't need to leave the tool you already use, potentially hundreds of times a day.
Okay, walk me through that. How does it work in practice?
It's designed to be really streamlined. The organizer just creates or updates an event like they normally would, right, in Google Calendar, Outlook. Then, instead of inviting guests directly, perhaps, they send that event to a specially configured CIS email address. Think of it like an inbound processor. The example given is something like create@calendarsnack.com.
Okay.
The CIS platform is listening to that inbox. It instantly processes that incoming event data. Within about 2 minutes, sometimes less, it generates the specific API embed codes you need for your different channels. Email CTAs, web page buttons, ACK integrations, and it sends those codes, maybe along with a ready-to-use landing page link, straight back to the organizer's email.
Wow. Okay. So create in my calendar, email it to a specific address, and get back embeddable codes almost immediately.
That's the workflow. No new dashboard to learn for the basic event creation and updating.
Now let's connect back to that data gap. CIS is collecting the yes, no, maybe responses, the receipts. So if I'm the organizer and I see Jane Doe clicked yes, what can I actually do with that information now?
This is where the state management piece comes in. It's crucial because CIS captures that response, that two-way communication. It knows the state of each invite. It tracks the unique ID of that specific invitation sent to Jane Doe, and it knows she responded yes.
It maintains the state. Got it.
Which then allows the organizer to send automated incremental UP dates to that original calendar invite. This is powerful. Let's say you need to change the webinar link or the venue shifts, or maybe you want to send a promotional message closer to the date like a discount on merchandise or early bird ticket reminders. You just go back to your original event in your Google or Outlook calendar. You edit it, change the description, location, time, whatever, save it. The CIS pipeline detects that change and sends out an update to the invite. But, and this is key, it only sends the update to the people who replied yes, or maybe, or perhaps those who haven't responded at all yet.
So you're not bothering the people who already said no.
Exactly. You're not blasting irrelevant updates to your entire list. You're providing a direct, seamless update only to those who've shown interest or haven't decided. It keeps your calendar accurate without extra noise. That's a massive workflow improvement over traditional email blasts for every little change.
That really is. Providing targeted updates right within the calendar item they already accepted. And the sources mention a front-end application, Calendar Snack. Is that part of this?
Yeah, Calendar Snack is provided essentially as a fully functional demo application. It showcases these workflows, the creation, the landing pages, the tracking. It's built using Vue.js, and the idea is that it can be rebranded or used as a starting point for companies building their own interfaces on top of the CIS API. It demonstrates the art of the possible.
Okay, that makes sense. A reference implementation.
Yeah.
Let's pivot to where this gets embedded. The sources highlight 3 specific markets. Let's break those down. First up, email marketing.
Right. So for email, think MailChimp, Klaviyo, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, any major ESP. The CIS provides a simple snippet of API code. You drop this into your email template to create a call to action button, like add event to calendar. When your customer clicks that button in the email, boom, the CIS sends the properly formatted calendar invite directly to their email address associated with that click. And simultaneously, you can redirect their browser to whatever landing page you configured, a thank you page, more event details, whatever.
So clicking the button sends the invite. It doesn't just download an iCal file.
Correct. It bypasses the iCal download friction entirely. The invite is sent via standard protocols designed to land correctly and, crucially, collect that response receipt later.
Much smoother. Okay, market 2. Web pages.
Yep. Think about landing pages for webinars, conferences, or even, say, big brands publishing sports schedules. NFL, NBA games. CIS generates auto-embeddable API code for these pages. The sources call this Solution 2. It often includes a tool, a landing page stylizer to make it look nice. A customer visits the page, sees the event, enters their email address maybe, clicks a button, and they get a one-click calendar invite sent straight to them for a single event, or maybe they can select multiple events, like an entire team's home games.
Turning the calendar invite from a hassle into an instant value add on the page itself.
That's the idea. Make it easy to get onto the calendar.
And the third market, app and CRM integration, the system of record use case. This sounds more enterprise-focused.
It definitely is. This unlocks true enterprise-level automation. Imagine sending calendar invites directly from your core database, your CRM, your student information system, your HR platform. You can send invites to massive segmented customer lists. And importantly, you can dynamically insert personalized data points into the invite itself on the fly. Things like customer ID, specific appointment details, unique links.
So the invite itself becomes a personalized communication vehicle, not just a static date and time.
Precisely. Far beyond what a generic iCall file could ever do. It connects the calendar interaction directly back to your system of record.
Okay, this leads into something the sources call the calendar-first strategy. This sounds potentially disruptive. We usually push people through complex registration forms first, then maybe offer a calendar link. CIS seems to propose flipping that entirely.
That's the big vision, yes. Why make someone fill out a form just to get on their calendar? Get the invite onto their calendar first. Secure that time slot. Most importantly, get that yes, no, maybe response back. Confirm their intent. Then, for those who say yes or maybe, you can automatically send subsequent required info, like the specific Zoom link, the webinar login details, ticket QR codes via a calendar invite UP day.
So the initial commit is just getting it on the calendar. The details follow once they've shown intent.
Exactly. It potentially streamlines the whole conversion funnel, reducing friction right at the start.
And how defensible is this? If it's built on AWS, couldn't someone else just copy it?
Well, the sources argue that defensibility comes from the specific intellectual property around processing these calendar invites for transactional and marketing purposes, using this distributed serverless architecture on AWS. It's not just about sending an invite. It's the whole workflow, the tracking, the state management, the updating, the adherence to ITF for receipt collection at scale. And thinking ahead, this kind of serverless API-driven architecture is apparently well-suited for the next wave. Imagine AI agents needing to schedule appointments, confirm attendance, send updates 24/7. This infrastructure is built for that kind of programmatic interaction.
Okay, interesting future-proofing angle there. So let's try to synthesize this for everyone listening. What's the core takeaway? It seems CIS is tackling this long-standing headache of calendar invites being underused or used poorly. It provides organizers with a programmable way, an API, to manage the entire invite lifecycle, achieving that crucial two-way communication, which is a world away from the old static, data-blind, add to calendar button that forced you into separate RSVP processes.
That sums it up well. It moves the calendar invite from a passive file download to an active communication channel. And that raises a really interesting question for you, the listener, especially if you work for a large brand or enterprise. Think about the current cost, time, money, customer annoyance tied up in sending endless email reminders for webinars, stockholder meetings, product launches. What happens if you A/B test a different approach? What if you send a direct, trackable calendar invite first, straight from your CRM or system of record, using something like CIS? Could you significantly reduce or maybe even eliminate many of those follow-up email blasts? Because now, CIS potentially gives you a direct pathway to measure event intent right from the customer's own calendar client. You see, the yes, the no, the maybe. That potential shift from just managing time slots to actively measuring intent via the calendar itself, that feels like the real breakthrough possibility here.